Now that's interesting. This podcast is about the Georgia Tech Sam Nunn School of International Affairs. Its graduates, their careers, and how the Nunn School has helped to shape their future. Take a listen. Welcome to Now That's Interesting. I'm Stephanie Jackson.
And I'm Sydney Polanco.
Today, we are switching gears on this podcast series. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and given that, like many other schools around the nation, our face-to-face in-residence classes ceased in March. Georgia Tech moved to full online instruction for the summer, and as we approach fall, courses will be offered in 3 different modes of instruction. This summer, we welcome new transfer students and new Summer Ignite students into the Nunn School community. They were among the first students to have fully online instruction at Georgia Tech. So we would like to welcome our guests, Faiz Syed and Anais Acree. Faiz is a transfer student to the Nunn School, studying International Affairs, that's INTA, and Anais is a first-year student studying International Affairs and Modern Languages, that's IAML, who is participating in the Ignite Summer Program. They have both just wrapped up their first semester of courses at Tech, and we've invited them to this podcast to talk more about their experience of learning online and adjusting to college in an online environment. Given that some INTA courses and other courses will be offered remotely this fall, we thought it important to bring you firsthand accounts of what it's like. So thank you to both of you for joining us today. I want to begin with you, Faiz. So you joined us this summer as a transfer student. Tell us, why did you decide to transfer to Georgia Tech?
There are many reasons. I think to start off, so my transition period was kind of unorthodox. I transferred after a few years at UGA. So most people, stick to, UGA is a very, very good school. So, most of my peers just going to stay out, graduate, have a very, very good time. But for me, I was feeling a bit stagnant. I wasn't very, very excited about a lot of my coursework. So I think I just kind of needed a change in scenery. And I think what Tech has provided is that excitement. Like I'm already really, really good friends with, my professor. I'm going to be in the city of Atlanta. So, I have all those resources. So I don't know, it was a very, very personal decision. And then I'm also going to be very close to family, which has been very, very nice for this quarantine period, like cooking with them, baking with them. Just hanging out. And then even within the Sam Nunn School of International Affairs, I think it's very, very different. Especially because we go to one of the most premier, tech schools, not only in the country, but like in the world. So having exposure to those type of students and those type of experiences, just helped me decide that I think Georgia Tech, was the school that I wanted to graduate from.
Okay, that's good to hear. And I hope that all becomes really fulfilling for you. But tell us, why did you decide to transfer in the summer as opposed to maybe fall or perhaps the spring semester?
I don't know. I don't think there was a specific reason why I chose summer. I think that just how it just kind of panned out for me. But I'm happy, I think it was, kind of easing into Tech, because I know if I transferred in the fall, I'd have been taking, 15 to 16 hours. It would have just been a lot on me, but kind of easing my way in. I'm fortunate to have a lot of friends that already go to Tech, so meeting up with them, through FaceTime or just through calls, and just, kind of getting their take on different things I can be involved in, has just, made the process easier. So I don't know. I think I was just kind of lucky. And I feel much more prepared, jumping into fall because I have some experience with Tech this summer.
Yeah, it's very interesting that you mentioned the ease into the transition to college at Georgia Tech. A lot of people talk about that, summer sessions, and we'll talk a little bit more about what summer sessions are. They offer a little bit a more narrow scope of courses, but you can get a easier transition. You may not feel as overwhelmed as you do in the fall. Anais, tell me, this summer you've been participating in the Summer Ignite program.
Yes.
So, in your own words, what is Ignite?
So for me, the Ignite program is a 6-week program that introduced me to Georgia Tech by earning course credit and experiencing classes. It's a program that really helps students transition from high school into college. And that's one of the unique things about the program. When students don't really have much exposure to college yet, this program provides that experience of students to help fit into college better instead of just jumping right in.
So speak a little bit more on that. What do you think, any specifics you can offer about how it has helped your transition?
Yes. So for me, in high school, an AP class is a 1 year course load, but in college it's one semester. And in the Ignite program, what it does, it takes that one semester college class and puts it in 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really helped me with time management, because I know when I go to college in the fall, I won't have to worry about completing this whole class in 6 weeks, because I will have a lot more time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But pushing that semester course load in 6 weeks, I know that I will not have a class that will be this fast paced, and it will be a lot easier when I go to Georgia Tech in the fall.
Right. So I just want to give a quick explanation of how summer sessions are operated here at Georgia Tech. We actually have 4 now summer sessions. We've always had our full 11-week summer session, and then we've had our early summer session, which is the first 5 weeks, 5.5 weeks of the summer, starts in May, ends in mid-June. Then we have a late summer session that starts in mid-June and goes through the end of July. And then we started this year for the first time. We have something called a mini-mester, which is for about 3.5 weeks in May. So those are the 4 standard summer sessions. The Ignite program that Anais spoke of actually overlaps with our late summer session. So those last 5.5, 6 weeks, they overlap. And so that's the way summer sessions are organized here at Georgia Tech. Sydney?
Yeah, so since we're moving into talking about some of the summer programs themselves, now we're going to talk about some questions about what the summer programs look like. So Anais, as a first year, how has the summer program been helpful for learning what to expect at Georgia Tech in the coming fall semester? Yeah, so one thing that I noticed was that all of the professors that I had, they were really helpful, and all the faculty and staff, they really did their best to make it easier for the rising first years to better transition into college. And I had a positive Ignite program experience. Once again, the staff was very welcoming, and the Ignite program had speaker events every single day, and that was one of my favorite things about it. So they had different topics for different students to join, and one of my professors, he actually delivered an amazing lecture on one about Atlanta and Georgia Tech history, and that was a super interesting lecture for me to attend. And it just gives multiple opportunities to learn about Georgia Tech traditions and to get more involved and interactive with students who are just like you, who really don't know much about Georgia Tech and want to learn more about the program and experience. Yeah, so do you think that, based off of those experiences that you've had within the Ignite program, that now you're more prepared to attend classes in the fall after having the summer program? Yes, I definitely feel more prepared. I remember I was on edge about joining the Ignite program or not, and of course, due to COVID-19, my summer internship was canceled, and I thought this would be a wonderful program. But even if we weren't going through a pandemic right now, I still think that this is a wonderful program to join, whether you are admitted in the summer or the fall, because I know that once again, my classes won't be as fast paced,
and in the fall, and I already have an idea on how to register for classes or how to use a Canvas page. So when I go in the fall, I know exactly what to do, and the transition will be a lot more smoother and easy for me, just like the rest of my peers.
That's awesome that you've had such a great experience with the Ignite program.
Yeah, and so Faiz,
as a transfer student, what can students who take courses over the summer at Georgia Tech expect in terms of course requirements completion?
So you have, quite a bit of flexibility, especially with, the class I took. So there was no assigned meeting time. So my professor, Dr. Wardle, he had like weekly assignments and weekly assessments. You could just pretty much do it on your own time. So I'd advise students to, maybe set up an advising appointment with Ms. Jackson just to see, how many courses, that they can balance out for the summer. But then, at least this course that I took, there was no specific meeting time. So again, like I had a lot of time to do it. My professor recorded the lectures and then put, the PowerPoints, the readings, any videos, on Canvas for us to use. So it was like very, very, very easy. And then on top of that, he was like super, super flexible. So, and I would also advise students, and this is a concern I also had, was, establishing good relations, with my professor, especially if schooling went virtual. And I was definitely like really able to do that. So through Blue Jeans. So I've already had 2 or 3 just meetings, with Dr. Woodall, and we didn't even really talk about class. We just talked about like current events and like our life stories and the study abroad. So, you can still establish a good working relationship with the professor, even if it's virtual. But yeah, quite easy for me.
That's awesome, Faiz, that you've been able to build such relationships with your professors. I know that that's definitely something that helps a lot in the future. And then, like you said, you get to talk to them about just current events, not even class, which is awesome. And so the same question for you, Anais. So what can students expect over the summer in terms of what courses they're completing throughout the Ignite program?
Yes, so the Ignite program, it has a bunch of courses that you are required to take to fulfill your graduation requirements at Georgia Tech, and it has many courses to choose from. It really depends on your major with which classes you want to take, but they have the graduation requirement courses that you can take that you don't have to take in the fall, and you don't have to take as many credit hours, and it'll be a lot easier for the classes you can take in the future. And the classes itself, the summer Ignite teachers, they know that this is your first class that you're taking in Georgia Tech, so they really do their best to answer questions as fast as possible and to be there for their students and just help them with their transition to Georgia Tech, because they know that this is their first experience, and like many students, we all have a bunch of questions.
Yeah, that's great. That's definitely something that I know is really cool about the Ignite program, that you get to knock out some of those courses while still getting to create those relationships with your peers and your professors. So since you talked a little bit about what courses you've been taking, so what courses did you take this summer, or have you taken?
Yes, so I took a total of 7 credit hours. I took the Principles of Microeconomics, United States History since 1877, and GT 1000. Each class had different people, different professors, and just overall different learning experience. My microeconomics class, we discussed the interactions between individuals and firms and how their decisions can affect the economy. In my U.S. history course, it was insightful in explaining how the events of history led to how the United States became the world power it is today. And my favorite course, of course, was GT 1000, because it taught me and the whole class just how to overall develop our skills and find our strengths and talents with other peers and teachers. So we also learned how to create job-winning resumes, cover letters, LinkedIn profiles, and just the steps to become successful students and leaders while at Georgia Tech and beyond. And one thing I'd like to add to that is that each of the classes I took, it all revolved around the same theme, and that's innovation. In microeconomics, it was about how innovation can drive economic growth and improve standard of living. In history, it was about how new inventions transform society. And in GT1000, it was about how to become an entrepreneur and develop products for our own success. So innovation is just a fundamental concept, but it was taught and applied differently in each of the courses. So looking back, it should have come as no surprise, since Georgia Tech is a campus full of innovation, STEM-based concepts, exemplified through liberal arts. It just makes perfect sense.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome that y'all also had a theme within that. You've been able to expand upon that through your Ignite program. So Faiz, same question to you. So what courses have you taken this summer?
So I took one class at Georgia Tech. So it was an energy and environment class with Dr. Woodall. And like I said, it was quite easy. And just because he was super flexible and I was actually very engaged and excited about the course content, it wasn't too bad for me. I know this is not directly answering the question, but I think just during quarantine and just during this pandemic, I prioritized a few other things, which I would advise, my peers to do. So for example, I think there's so much that we can do to discover ourselves, discover new passions, and not only prioritize school, but also prioritize different forms of education. So even though I only, took one class, I've been just reading a lot of books, reconnecting with friends, playing a lot of baseball, just sports, spending time with family, and just kind of exploring myself, which has been super, super exciting and gratifying. And then on top of that, just doing one class is also, very nice. So I'm not sure if I exactly answered your question, but that was just kind of my take.
Oh no, that's perfect. That's awesome.
More part of a question I'll ask you later, but I'll ask you to elaborate a little bit more when I get into that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and that's great. I think that's that's so awesome that you've been able to also obviously balance what you've been taking this summer with everything else that you've been able to do. That's so cool. Okay, so this question is going to go for both of y'all. As you can start. So what advice would you give to students who may be considering taking classes over the summer in the coming years at Georgia Tech?
It was a very smooth process for me. So I know I would just like to thank Ms. Jackson for making it very, very easy and helping me navigate through it all. So I think the first thing to do is maybe just book an appointment with her, an advising appointment, a meeting, as short as 30 minutes can, go a very long way. And then, also talk to some of your peers. If you have any friends that go to tech, that also helped me a lot. And then, I could have easily probably balanced out, 2 or 3 other classes. But I didn't want to, overwhelm myself. But again, I think, everyone is different. Everyone has different priorities and, different capacities in the amount of classes that they can take and the amount of stress that they can handle. But I think a good first step would be to book that advising appointment with Ms. Jackson.
Yeah, awesome, for sure. And so same question to you, Anais. Any advice for students?
Yes, so my advice for any rising first year at Georgia Tech deciding about the Ignite program or not is to just jump in with both feet. At first, I was, on edge about enrolling, and I'm so glad I decided to take it this summer, and I definitely have no regrets. And after Ignite, I am confident that when I go to Georgia Tech in the fall, it won't be a major change for me, and the transition from high school to college will be a lot smoother. I just think that, just like what Faiz said, your advisors, my advisor is Ms. Jackson, and she does a great job in helping students plan their summer schedules. And if you talk to your advisor, they're your biggest help, and they will help fulfill your graduation requirements and just give you different opportunities for the best success for the students. Just some tips. I think time management is probably the best advice I can give to Ignite students, because in my GT1000 class, this was a big problem that many people mentioned in the discussions. And, what I tell, this wasn't a big issue for me because in high school, I was in the IB diploma program, and it was all about time management, but for others, this was a big issue. And what I told my peers in my class was to just have a calendar and balance your schedule so you can keep track of everything. Don't just sit down and study for several hours straight. Read a chapter of your textbook for an hour while taking breaks to exercise and socialize. And, also be sure to eat healthy and try to get plenty of sleep. If you have a schedule, you plan your days and manage your time with anything that's going on in your life, whether it's a part-time job or any other activities, you will definitely use your time the most efficiently. And if you want to enter your first fall semester at Georgia Tech with confidence, Ignite is the best bet for you.
Anais, I think you made some really good points there. So I have a follow-up question for you, particularly since you mentioned time management. And I know that's historically has been an area where some of our students have struggled. And I'm glad to hear that the Ignite GT1000 programs are emphasizing the importance of learning how to balance. So just to kind of elaborate a little bit more on that question, in terms of time management and balance, and Faiz, I'm going to ask you this next, so start thinking about your answer. How have you been able to stay engaged with your classes and your coursework throughout the online learning process?
Yes, so to stay engaged during these courses, I got in touch with other students in the class outside of the normal interactions that we had in class. So this helped us to get to know each other and the other students better, and it motivated me to understand the material more. I was already interested in my classes, but connecting more with other students just motivated me to learn more deeply about the material and think of applying the material in the real world.
Mm-hmm. Faiz, the same question to you. So since you got to know Professor Woodall, how have you been able to stay engaged with your classes and your professors and classmates throughout online learning?
So I think Blue Jeans was a good tool that we had, and throughout, I think we had, so the class still hasn't ended, so we're still working on a, group project. Mm-hmm. So Blue Jeans and just, having a common group me between me and my group members has been a good way, for us to stay engaged. And then, like I said, me and Dr. Woodall, spoke a lot about current events, so we'd email each other, just cool articles and cool findings. So that's another way, that I've, still been able to engage with him, but that's kind of been outside of class. But yeah, outside of that, like, I think Blue Jeans, was most of the magic. There was, I didn't really need anything else, to stay engaged, to stay in contact with my group members and my teacher.
I have a follow-up question for Anais, and then Sydney, you can ask this to Faiz. Were there any particular assignments, like group projects or tools like discussions or videos, etc., or techniques of your professors or any, TLs or TAs that you found to be most helpful for your own learning?
Yes, so all of my classes, they were actually taught differently. And like in my micro class, the professor, he already had pre-recorded lectures from last summer. So it was nice getting the same lectures as the students and witnessing these previous in-person classes. So if professors already previously had pre-recorded lectures, uploading that onto the media gallery page on Canvas would be super helpful. My history professor, Dr. Hild, he held daily chats, and that's where we reviewed our assigned readings, and that was a really cool platform because our professor would ask questions and we'd all just type back and respond how we felt, like our answers to it, and each student had like a different response. So it was nice getting to know all the students and understanding their point of views on a discussion. And then in my GT1000 class, just like what Fez said, it was through a Blue Jeans forum, and that was super helpful because I got to see the students and the TAs and Mr. Jimerson on in person. Well, not in person, but like through virtually. So it was nice to see everyone's face, which is really nice because once again, everyone wishes that we were in person, but just seeing everyone's face, it was.
Yeah, and so same question to you, Fez. So was there a particular assignment? I know that you had mentioned that you're still working on a group project right now, or some sort of tool, discussions, videos, or another technique that your professor or TA was able to implement that was most helpful for your learning throughout the summer.
So I think the tone that Dr. Woodhull kind of emphasized with his first video that he made, that this was new for him and new for the students, and that he'd be very, very flexible going forward, was very, very reassuring. So outside of that, just kind of knowing that the professor is on your side as well, and that if there are some hiccups with the technology or with late assignments, that you won't be penalized. I think that kind of safety net kind of did it for me. But outside of that, I can't really pinpoint any specific tools that helped me. I think it's only one class. I don't really have too big of a sample size to play with. But yeah, he recorded lectures, like I was saying. He posted as much information he could, to facilitate different types of learning. So he had his own recorded lectures, and then he had PowerPoints if people preferred that. And then he had videos, relating to the topic, and then additional readings. So he just pretty much gave us a wide variety of different, ways to learn information, which I guess, could help students. But yeah, outside of that, there was nothing very, very specific or a, tool per se that I used. But yeah, pretty much just kind of the flexibility that the teacher provided really reassured me.
Yeah, that's awesome that your professor has been able to be so flexible, because I know that this is definitely a new environment for everyone, and everyone's just trying to learn their way through it, for sure. And so I guess now shifting towards some of your relationships on campus. So first, for Anais, as a first year, how have you been able to build relationships with other Georgia Tech students, or non-school students in particular, even though you're not on campus?
Yes, so I think that the class that I had the most interaction with other peers was GT1000, because we had discussions at least once a week, and we just comment and reply to other people's posts. And some of the posts, people would say oh, we might get along because we have similar personality traits or just ideals, and they'd drop their social media info. So people would nonstop just add people on through many social media platforms, and that's how I ended up talking to people in my major through the summer. And some of the people, we actually realized that we're in the same class. So we'd help each other with understanding the material better. And it was really a wonderful opportunity to get to know people that, I haven't met. But, going into the fall, I'll already have some friends to go through the same classes with. And, it's really nice with GT1000 because it's many different platforms that you can go through. There are many different levels, and I was many different tracks, and I was in the leadership track, and that involved many people from my major. And getting to know people in my major was really great. And, now I have some friends that I'm going to have the same fall classes with, which is really nice that we've already developed those connections.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great. So do you have any advice? I know that you had briefly talked a little bit about some of your tips for prospective students, for future students, but do you have any specific advice about the Ignite program for next summer for anyone who wants to get to know other students or just start out their time at Georgia Tech through the Ignite program?
Yes, so for any tips and advice, I just say just practice time management once again. I think that's super important. And also just be yourself and try reaching out to people, because you don't really know anyone, but definitely don't hesitate and definitely reach out, because to not only your peers but also your professors, because everyone just wants to help each other. And that's one of the most wonderful things about Georgia Tech. And when you can develop those friendships and connections, that'll help you get through the program together, because you're not alone. And if you can make sure that you're busy and you have a calendar to keep on track with everything that you're doing, it'll be the best path for success. And the program will be over before you know it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's great advice for incoming students. And so, Faiz, what would you tell students who are unsure about how to get involved or stay involved on campus throughout learning online? I know that you had said you had some friends at Georgia Tech and you had learned through them. So do you have any advice for students trying to stay involved on campus?
Yeah, that's a tough one because I really don't think I am too involved as of yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I think trying to tap into your different resources. So I'm lucky enough to have friends, and again with Jackson and a few professors that I even know, and a few alumni of Georgia Tech that I've spoken to, and they've kind of guided me on into like kind of different things that I can pursue, and just kind of given the location of Georgia Tech, there is so much you can do outside of the school, just in Atlanta or just in just the area around Tech. So as of yet, I'm not really involved, but just kind of tapping into different people. I know of potential things that I want to get involved with. Once life kind of returns to normal. But yeah, so I guess at this stage, I'm just trying to read as much as I can about the different opportunities, ask people, and then I've been lucky enough to pursue some opportunities just in my local area. So I'm not sure if Miss Jackson mentioned, but I'm also a pre-med student. So I've been working.
Oh, that's
I've
awesome.
been working as a medical assistant, at a clinic nearby, or I've been also teaching, some of the younger kids in my area, just how to play baseball. So I'm just trying to tap into kind of what opportunities I have at the current moment. But in regards to being involved at Tech, I think it's kind of hard because everything is virtual. But like I said, I think the strategic thing to do is just learn as much as you can about the opportunities, and then once the opportunities open up, you can definitely pursue them. So I think one thing that I have done that I forgot to mention was I have met with I think they're called the Education Abroad Ambassadors. So I have met with two of them actually regarding a study abroad trip that I want to plan for spring of 2021. And again, their offices are open. They were super gracious in advising me not only about the study abroad opportunities but about scholarship opportunities. So that is something you can easily do virtually. And I have been able to tap into that. And I hope to tap into more of these resources as time progresses.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think that that's also awesome that you mentioned not only staying involved or trying to find opportunities on campus, but also getting involved in Atlanta or wherever you are. I think that that's really cool as well, and trying to find your interests. So that's awesome. And then any last words of advice for transfer students, or for learning online, or for taking summer courses, or anything else that you would like to mention?
Let me think. So I think I'm very lucky in that I already have, a good bit of college experience behind me. So it's not as difficult. So like right now I'm prioritizing engaging with, faculty and, finding mentors and finding people that are older, that can give me, just some wisdom. So it's kind of crazy, but I had actually emailed this Jackson, I want to say a few days ago, and I was reading about Senator Sam Nunn, and I was like, wow, I have to meet this guy. So I just emailed her. I was like, yo, can I meet him? She's like, Fez, like, he's kind of a big deal, like, but, when the time arises, she said that, they'll definitely, let the student body know that, he's willing to engage with us. But again, I kind of took my shot, right? And so, and, if Senator Nunn is listening to this podcast, please reach out to me. I would love to engage with you. But there's so many other people that are willing to just teach you and advise you, and it's just up to you to reach out and be very, very gracious in the way you do so. And again, like Anais was saying, we have a community, and we are here to uplift each other. It's just up to the students to kind of tap into that community, and then also give back when they have the opportunity. So through mentorship, through advice, through helping, through tutoring, whatever it is, you can definitely contribute, to the greater community at Tech. And it's really gratifying, to do so.
For sure. That's awesome.
Well, thank you both, Anais and Faiz, for your time today. I think this has been a really insightful conversation, and I think both of you have offered wonderful insight and tips for our current students to consider as we approach the fall semester. So we are glad that you have successfully completed the first online learning semester at Georgia Tech, and we both wish you the very best for the fall. We hope that you stay safe and healthy, and perhaps we'll have you on a future episode to learn a little bit more about your future successes. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
This podcast is produced by the Sam Nunn School of International Affairs at Georgia Tech, developing policymakers for the 21st century. Music is Afternoon Nap by Ghost Rifter Official, used under a Creative Commons Attribution, Share Alike 3.0, unported license.